Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Ash Wednesday and the Lenten season and ultimately Easter. So for those of you who may not know, today is Ash Wednesday, and that marks an important part of the Christian calendar. It's a time when we're reminded that from dust we came and to dust we shall return. And basically, it's a time that people go into the Lenten season, which is supposed to be one of fasting and spiritual reflection and prayer, and doing good deeds and kind of giving up something with the aim of bettering ourselves and observing kind of like a spiritual growth and looking to ways that we can improve ourselves in our lives and get closer to God. And I find, kind of several interesting things about this as it relates to veganism. I've already done a video on a similar topic when I did my Halloween video. If you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend it. I'll link it down below in the description and maybe put it at the end of the video as well. But, there I talked about several saints and throughout Christian history that have either been vegan or vegetarian or been especially closely, associated with animals, like St. Francis of Assisi and especially St. Francis of Paola, who was actually vegan, and the order that he founded was actually vegan as well. So that's a really interesting video. I definitely recommend you to check it out. But today I just want to talk about a little bit about the Lenten season and fasting and what that means to Christians and what it used to mean. So I want to show you a few things. Let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, Ash Wednesday is really kind of the start of the Lenten season, and the the fasting days themselves are in commemoration of the 40 days that Jesus was tempted in the desert and did his fast for 40 days. So basically, what happens is the palms that Christians use to celebrate Palm Sunday the year before are actually burned and made into the ashes that people get on their forehead on Ash Wednesday, and you get the ashes, and the point being that you're remembering that you're from dust and that you'll return to dust, just like it says here. So yeah, that's actually celebrated throughout pretty much most Christian religions and churches. And basically then Lent is those 40 days marking the time that Jesus fasted in the desert. The interesting thing that I wanted to kind of talk about today is that as most modern day Catholics especially, and most Christian denominations will follow, they won't eat meat on Fridays during the 40 days. And they'll also do some fasting, which means that they will only have one main meal and two smaller meals, which are not supposed to be sufficient to make you feel full. So you are actually supposed to be somewhat hungry at the end of the day, and that's also kind of like part of the spiritual practice, and to kind of reflect on your life and grow closer to God. So the thing that I wanted to mention, though, is that in the early history of the church, these fasts were taken a lot more seriously, and it wasn't just that you didn't eat meat, but that you actually didn't eat any animal products. Here's the the section from ancient times. They were a lot more strict. Basically, here it shows Socrates Scholasticus reports that in some places all animal products are strictly forbidden. So there were some that permitted fish or fowl or some other things like fruit and eggs. Some places only permitted bread. There were really kind of different rules about who ate what when. Some people allowed you to have a midday meal. Some people only allowed you to eat in the evening after the sunset, which is interesting because if you know anything about the Muslim tradition of Ramadan, that is a similar fasting period that goes for the period of a month, and that, if I understand correctly, has the kind of added challenge of basically the observers don't eat any food, and they don't even drink any water during the day, and they will only eat once the sun has gone down or before the sun has come up in the morning. So that's a pretty strict fast, especially compared to the modern day Christian traditions, where most people just don't eat meat, and they still eat fish, and they still eat dairy and milk and eggs and other animal products except for the meat itself. So you can see that let's see here, the rules were changed, obviously, and basically they were just made more and more lax, to the point that now really it's just the Fridays when people don't tend to eat meat. Now that's in the Catholic Church, but in the Orthodox Church, they still adhere to a fully vegan fast. So they are basically avoiding all animal products. Okay, so here you can see that in current Western societies, the practice is considerably relaxed, though in the Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, and Eastern Catholic churches, abstinence from all animal products, including eggs, fish, fowl, and milk sourced from animals, is still commonly practiced, so that where it is observed, only vegetarian or vegan meals are consumed for the whole of Lent. And they even have an extension on it, so they have 45 days in the Byzantine Rite. And this is actually kind of what I wanted to talk about today, that regardless of your religious persuasion or beliefs, I think it's actually a really fine and good thing to do these kinds of reflections and spiritual kind of practices, for people to really focus on what is important to them and what's important in their life. And this is a great time to try going to a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. I think it's it can be really great as far as becoming more aware of your body and your health and your impact on the environment, and extending that compassion that all the world's major religions try to teach their adherents, that we should be extending that same compassion and love for people to all of God's creatures and all of the living sentient beings that share the earth with us. So that's really my message for today, is that if you do observe Lent, take this time to maybe just reflect on that a little bit. I've got a lot of videos here on the channel talking about the ethics of veganism. I think if you haven't seen any of those yet, I really encourage those. We are still in the middle of February, which is the animal agriculture industries, specifically the dairy industry's attempt to propagandize people and get people to drink more milk and consume dairy products. I think this is actually a perfect time to do the opposite and do what you know and feel in your heart is the right thing to do. Give this a shot, and I think the only other thing that I would really kind of end with is that it's almost funny that people take the Lenten offerings of something that they give up as being something that is so difficult, and like people will often kind of count down the 40 days like, I'm giving up chocolate and I'm giving up something that I like, or in this case it might be giving up animal products and giving up meat. But the funny thing is that when you actually get used to eating a plant-based diet after just even a short few weeks, basically if you start now, by the end of the Lenten period, I would actually argue that you're going to form some really good habits and you're going to feel great. You're not going to feel like you're giving up anything. I regularly do have people ask me if it's hard being a vegan, and I actually honestly say that it's not. I think it's one of the easiest things in the world to do if you know why you're doing it, and you're eating a healthy whole food plant-based diet. You reap incredible rewards. So I think from like mental well-being and spiritual well-being, I think you absolutely, if you believe in karma or any kind of thing like it, I think you reap huge rewards from there, just knowing that you're at least trying to do less harm and do the least harm that you can to other living sentient beings. And then from your health aspect too, if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, you actually can gain lots of health benefits from that. I have a separate video on that as well too, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. So you're benefiting your spirit, your spiritual life, you're benefiting your physical life, your body, your health, and you are benefiting the environment around you by contributing less to the animal agriculture industry and the destruction of the rainforests and pollution and dead zones in the ocean and all sorts of things. So it's just an all-around karmic spiritual win. And yeah, I just wanted to share that thought with you, and hopefully this kind of helps you make that decision to take the plunge and give it a shot and give it a try. There's lots of great resources, as I've talked about in my previous videos in Veganuary for January. There is the 22-day challenge. I will put a link in the description for that too. You can sign up to that. You can get a mentor. People will help you what kind of meals to prep, where you can find things, where you can find vegan restaurants, what online resources you can use. Pretty much in today's day and age, if you're living in pretty much any developed country in the world nowadays, you can find vegan options really easily. You can actually save money by cooking for yourself and doing a whole food vegan diet. And yeah, I just think it's a really great thing to do. Give it a shot. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear them. I'm happy to help, and I do have lots of recipes already up on my channel, but there's 1,000,001 recipes that you can find. And going to your stores nowadays, you literally have the choice between picking off this product from one part of the shelf, going 1 or 2 feet over, and picking up the vegan version of it. So I encourage you to do that. Hope you liked it. Give it a big thumbs up if you did, and thanks a lot for everybody's support. The channel's really growing a lot right now, and I really appreciate it. So thanks everybody, and see you in the next one.